Vin Ballen's back. Let's react. Right now we're gonna react to the greatest performances that nobody talks about by Johnny Arnett. Let's go.
Obviously, there have been many incredible performances throughout the NBA's existence, but it's interesting to consider the games that were immortalized in basketball lore in comparison to the performances that were absolutely incredible, but for one reason or another are just not as remembered or revered as those other games. That's where this video comes in,
Alright,
as it
bet.
isn't an all-encompassing video of the greatest games that aren't talked about, but the video just includes some of those greatest games. So if this video does well and the interest seems to be there, I'll definitely consider turning this one into a series.
Bro, you got to. Come on. You make the best series. High key.
Now before we get into the list, there's one other important aspect to consider. History is written by the victors, and in terms of the game of basketball, this is why many of the greatest performances have gone by the wayside, since most of the players on this list had these dominant performances while playing on the losing side. Occasionally, there will be a game like Michael Jordan's 63 in Boston Garden that gets the recognition despite being in a losing effort, but more often than not, they just become overlooked and forgotten over time. So let's put a spotlight on them, shall we? First off, Magic Johnson in Game 5 of the 1991 NBA Finals. This was Magic's last professional basketball game before he announced his retirement due to the HIV virus. And although this final game is remembered for being the beginning of a dynasty, many have forgotten just how great Magic was in what was unknowingly his farewell game. Many fail to mention this, but the Lakers were actually riddled with injuries in these NBA Finals. And in this championship-clinching game, Magic was without two of his best scoring teammates, James Worthy and Byron Scott. Despite being extremely short-handed, with his back against the wall in typical Magic...
They were injured. Okay. All I knew is that in 1991, Kareem already retired. But okay, James Worthy was injured, and so was Byron Scott, so... Okay.
fashion, he still made his teammates significantly better, and made the contest as competitive as it could have been. He finished the game with 16 points, a whopping 20
assists,
and 11 rebounds. No other player in NBA Finals history has ever got as many assists as Magic did this game. And again, he did it without his best weapons, and in his final game before his retirement. Regardless of the defeat, it's definitely one of the more underappreciated performances of all time.
Facts.
Second up is Draymond Green in Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals. For obvious reasons...
Bro, I remember watching the highlights of Draymond Green during that game. And I was shocked, bro. Like, Green couldn't be stopped that game. It's a shame because I believe if the Warriors won that year, Draymond Green would have a Finals MVP to his resume, since... Watching all the games, Draymond Green performed the best during that series.
As the climactic ending of the Cavaliers' 3-1 comeback, and LeBron James' blocked shot and Kyrie Irving's three-pointer get all of the fame and the attention. It was a close game that needed those clutch plays from the Cavs, but the only reason it was even close in the first place is because of one Warrior specifically, Draymond Green. It wasn't a great day in the Golden State, but Draymond had the game of his life and wasn't going out without a fight, as he finished with 32 points, 15 rebounds, and 9 assists on 73.3% shooting and 6 of 8 from three-point range. He led all players in points and rebounds, and he led all Warriors in assists. Not only did he score 32 of the Warriors' 89 points, but he did it on 73.3% shooting compared to the rest of his teammates who shot 30.8%. If just one other Warrior showed up and had a good game as well, Golden State probably wins that championship. Next is Vince Carter in Game 3 of the 2001 Eastern Conference Semifinals. Although the series ultimately resulted in a 7th-game loss to Allen Iverson and the 76ers, it wasn't without Carter having arguably the greatest game of his career, as he dominated in a number of aspects. He was scorching from the perimeter as he dropped 50 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, and 4 blocks on 65.5 shooting from the field. He was also 9 of 13 from three-point range, which is 3 times as many three-pointers made as the entire 76ers team. It's easy to simply remember Carter for his above-the-rim athleticism, but at his best, he was also an elite sniper from three-point range and one of the best all-around scorers that the game had to offer. Fourth up is David Thompson in his last regular season game of the 1978 season. On April 9, 1978, David Thompson had one of the most explosive yet efficient scoring performances of NBA history. The fact that the game isn't on film and the fact that the Nuggets lost the game are the two major reasons why this performance doesn't get as much attention as it deserves. Thompson was trailing George Gervin by only 14 points for the league scoring crown, so Thompson obviously wanted to have a great scoring night, and that's exactly what he did. To start the game, David made a ridiculous 20 out of his first 21 shots, which is insanely efficient, especially when you consider the fact that he was a perimeter shooting guard. He finished the game with 73 points and 7 rebounds on 73.7% shooting, but unfortunately, Denver lost the game to the Detroit Pistons 139-137. Unfortunately for Thompson, he didn't win the scoring title either, as George Gervin scored 63 points of his own later that evening. Next is Kobe Bryant in Game 6 of the first round of the 2006 playoffs. It was the second-seeded Phoenix Suns and the seventh-seeded Los Angeles Lakers, and what many people remember about this series is Kobe's iconic game winner in Game 4 and the Lakers blowing the 3-1 lead to the Suns.
Yep.
But Kobe did everything he could in Game 6 to try to win the series. It was the highest scoring playoff game of his career, and the array of difficult baskets he was hitting down the stretch was nothing short of amazing. Kobe finished the game with 50 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals on 57 points.
Bro, Kobe carried that team though. Rest in peace.
Shooting.
Gotta respect
If the Lakers had simply snagged a crucial rebound in the final moments of the game, then they would have won the series. And instead of being overlooked, this performance from Kobe would be remembered as one of the greatest of playoff history. Next on the list is John Stockton in Game 5 of the 1988 Western Conference Semifinals. It was a matchup with the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers, with the series tied at 2 games apiece. In this pivotal 5th game in Los Angeles, John Stockton had one of the best games the league has ever seen from the point guard position. He played all 48 minutes for his Jazz and poured in 23 points, 24 assists, 3 rebounds, and 5 steals on 50% shooting. His 24 assists is tied with Magic Johnson for the most assists ever accumulated in an NBA playoff game. Despite his heroic effort, it still wasn't enough to defeat the star-studded Lakers, as Michael Cooper hit the game-winning jumper with just seconds remaining, with a final score of 111-109.
Pain.
7th on the list is Rajon Rondo in Game 2 of the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals. This series is obviously remembered for LeBron's evil face, and the way he dominated Game 6 in what was arguably his greatest playoff game of his career. The Miami Heat ultimately won the series in 7 games, despite Boston's best shot. Many people forget that the best player in this series wasn't any of the Celtics' famous Big Three, but it was actually their starting point, as Rondo had himself quite a ball game in Game 2 in Miami, where he dropped 44 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals on 75.1 true shooting percentage. Around this time frame, it wasn't uncommon for Rondo to put up ridiculous stat lines like this one, and I think many have already forgotten just how good Prime Rondo was for a 3-season stretch with the Celtics. Last on today's list is Akeem Olajuwon in Game 6 of the 1987 Western Conference Semifinals. He was still very young, but had all the skills to dominate the game in numerous ways, and on this night, the Seattle Supersonics got to experience the dream firsthand. Facing elimination, Hakeem mustered up one of the most clutch performances the league has ever seen from a big man, as he scored 49 points, brought down 25 rebounds, and blocked 6 shots on 57.6% shooting. Fortunately for Seattle, the extremely talented Sonics had some strong weapons of their own, and were able to win the game with a final score of 128-125. So now it's your turn. What are some incredible performances that no one talks about? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more.
Alright you guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.